Hello, everybody. This is Steve Cavey. I'm calling to order the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, May 21st at 7 p.m. Seeing a quorum present of the Select Board. To my left is Mr. Gito and Ms. Roberts. To my right, Mr. Carrera and Mr. McCrisky and our town manager. Please join me as we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you got it. Okay, so we're going to start the evening with Select Board comments. I'm going to start on my right with Mr. McCrisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome everybody to the warmest day of 2024. So I'm looking forward to more. Hopefully, it's tomorrow. But excuse me, I apologize, Mr. Chair, member of the boards. If just wanted to start with reading an obituary from Barbara, her maiden name Peterson Lever, who passed away.
Sorry, Mr. McCrisky, could you pull the mic a little bit closer?
Mic closer, huh?
Thank you.
What's this, town meeting? I know, those don't work, right, exactly. Boy, this one has to really come close. Can you hear me now? There we go. Wow, I'm going to swallow this thing. Mr. Chairman, members of the boards, members of our community, I'd just like to mention a celebration of a life, Barbara Peterson Lever, and she passed away on May 15th. And Barbara is the wife of our former town accountant, Paul Lever, and Paul was also a member of the Finance Committee. Barbara and Paul were very, very active in our town and very active in their church. And they have been a family who has really made a mark. Their son, Kevin, is an ordained priest and will actually be saying his mom's mass tomorrow morning. So I just wanted to read this, that Barbara had passed away on May 15th, holding the hand of her beloved husband, Paul. Having been surrounded all week by her loved ones, the youngest of six, born to the late Paul Jr. and Juliet Peterson in Peabody, on December 2, 1959, Barbara attended St. John's Baptist School, Hangard's Junior High, and Peterson Veterans High School, graduating in 1977. After attending North Shore Community College, she left to work at Sylvania. On August 20th, 1983, she married the love of her life, Paul F. Lever, with whom she shared 40 years of marriage, moving to Stoughton in 1989. They raised three children who are the pride and joy: Reverend Kevin P. Lever of Braintree Catholic Collaborative, Christopher Lever and his wife Alicia of Marlborough, and Julianne Marion and her husband Jeffrey of Littleton. In addition to her husband and children, she's survived by four beautiful granddaughters: Kaylee, Sophie Lever, Leah, Hannah, and Jean Marin. And she's also survived by her sisters, Marie Reed, Marguerite Truffant, Constance Lever, Catherine Gravel, and her brother, Paul Peterson. Sisters-in-laws, nieces and nephews and so forth were included in that. But on behalf of our board, I would hope that everybody would agree with me in sending our sincerest condolences to a great Stoughton family and a good public servant who served our community with utmost respect, professionalism, and dedication to making a difference. So if you would join me in a moment of silence in memory of Barbara. Thank you. One additional was a tough one. Today, Select Board Member Carrara knows a good friend of ours, Boyd Walls. Boyd Walls, another one, is a member of our Council on Aging at this time, This board appointed Boyd, I believe, 2 years ago to the Council on Aging Board. And Dwight is in good spirits right now, but he is home on hospice, and I just spent a few hours with him before getting here. And he is very aware of where he's at, and we shared some very nice words. Basically, I had to say that if I don't see you again, my friend, that I'm a better man for knowing you. Thank you for being a part of my life, and I'll never forget you and your wife. They're not politicians, but they were with my selectman's race in 1992 because they believed that much in me. And we all know those people when we run for office that go out and spread your name amongst their good friends. And friends like Boyd Walls don't come that often. And the gift of being able to see a good friend who is preparing to leave this world is not something you get often, to be able to let somebody know. We all talk about how somebody means or what they meant to us after they pass. But it's a real gift when God allows you that moment to tell that person before they leave this earth. So with that, I would ask if you would join me in just a moment of silence for our good friend Boyd Walls. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murkowski. Mr. Carrera, do you have any comments?
It's tough because I know both of the people who have passed away, and I've known Paul Leva probably most of my life. We grew up together, and he was here when I was selectman as an accountant for the town, and he's the two nicest people that you could ever ask, and they were like one. And I care very much that his wife passed away, that he's alone now, but he's not really alone. His children are there with him. And just to say a little bit about Boyd Wells, is you could never say enough about the guy. And the first time I met him, he was on the floor at Sears, and I went in to get a range and all that because they said, you got no credit when you're buying your house. So I had to get a credit card and I had to charge it all. So Boyd goes, he recognized me because I towed their float in a parade, the Masonic Lodge. And he said, how much do you want? And I says, nothing. He goes, no, I got to pay you. I says, oh, let me go in the truck. And I had disconnected the trailer already and got it set. And so I got in the truck and I told him I'd figure it out. And I drove away. So when he saw me come in to Sears, he sold me the stuff. He gives you his break, and then he tells me to come back in 30 days. He's going to give me 30% more off. That's the type of guy he was. And he's just, like Joe said, if he's on your team, he's on your team. And there's not a better guy. Him and his wife, they were the two kindest people, and you couldn't do enough for him. It's sad, but he's tough too. He realizes, like Joe said, he realizes where he's going, but he's going to meet the love of his life, and that's what he said. So, thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Carrera. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I start with my comments, I just wanted to give my condolences to Joe and Scott's good friends. I wish I knew them, but the information you shared, I felt really saddened inside that happened to them. So, but going on to something else, which is boards, commissions, and committees. They were advertised in the Suburban Shopper, and to the audience, there are a number of vacancies. If you care to serve in any kind of capacity for the town, there are a lot of vacancies and a lot of different ways to serve. Like, as an example, the Board of Assessors, Commission on Disabilities, Cultural Council. I could go on and on. So these are vacancies with various terms that are appointments from the Select Board. And then also, Town Manager has some vacancies. Along with that, I do see a letter from Chairperson Roberta Harback for the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority. They have a vacancy as well. So I invite all to apply to a few of these vacancies and serve the town if you have the availability to do so. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Cady.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. I'd just like to add that for anybody who's nervous about getting on, there was a time when, before I was a select board member, where a former member of the select board asked me to apply to some of those vacancies, and I was nervous to do it because I didn't feel like I really had the training or the experience to do it. It wasn't until I got on the board I realized how many vacancies are left vacant, how many seats are left open. Feel free to call town hall, see if there's any. If you're not sure, there might be positions where you can hop on and learn as you go, and your contribution to the town will be, very much appreciated. So even if you don't have all the information, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, you triggered a thought. Even if you have no experience in a particular area, there are people on that committee that will mentor you. I mean, they're a wealth of knowledge, and they are willing to share that information. So you don't have to feel alone. You can just jump right in. So thank you for letting me add that little bit.
I wish I had done it, and I think that for anybody who's reluctant, I just jump right in. Sorry, Mr. Gito.
I can only echo the comments of the last two speakers. It is so important. We are a community, and in order to be a community, we have to work together, and we need to put a little muscle into the whole process. On another note, we have about $5 million, I believe, that the school did not spend on the high school. And so there's borrowing authority there. Perhaps, Mr. Town Manager, you could advise us or lead us to a decision on what to do with that money, perhaps in talking with the superintendent of schools as well. But, I mean, it may be a help in terms of getting the school. It may not be. I do not know. But you probably do. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gito, I'll discuss it with the finance director tomorrow, and we'll check, first of all, the regulations, and then we'll speak with the superintendent and ask what their thoughts are, and I'll report back to you right away. Report back to the whole board right away.
Thank you. Does anybody else? Mr. McCrisky.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I forgot the other one. On an upbeat note, I don't know who put together from our school department the onslaught of elementary school students that were in several locations today, and happened to meet a group of them in some sort. I got a very little because I came in on the tail end of it. Some sort of a scavenger hunt, and I had the opportunity to meet the kids from the Dora Elementary School out front today, and they explained how they have a program where kids are taught certain things, and then they have to go out and find things, something that relates to that. And when I was here, I gave them something that they can take back that not any other school, as they were learning a little bit about government and what the seat of government does. And I took a selfie with two of these great students. And I said, take that home to your parents. I just hope it lands in the right house because, they might say, where did you get that? Get that out of here. But it was great. These are the types of things that I believe we need to do it. I applaud the superintendent and the school committee for putting these things into curriculum so that we're teaching kids what local government does and how local government makes a difference, so that we hopefully someday we're able to foster more people to step up to these boards and commissions, and that we can focus on the positive things that go on to make local government and how you can control your community by being involved. But they were great kids. I met two parents. They were chaperones, and it was just one of those things that I just have to applaud. So to the superintendent, members of the school committee, awesome job. Keep it up. And if I can help out, I'd love to leave one of those groups. But I have a feeling to remember our friend Howie Hansen, who's not able to be with us. I'd probably be like Howie. I'd talk to them so long they'd say, "I want to get away from this old man." So, but it was a real great time. They did an awesome job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Of course. Anybody else have any other comments? Seeing none, there's a couple of things I'd like to add. Actually, on a very similar vein to Mr. McCrisky's comments, right before coming here, got a knock on my door, and I was actually getting ready, so I wasn't able to answer the door, but my wife did. And it was from what I understand, a son and his father were walking around, and his son was collecting signatures for it was just a project that he and his father were doing to put together a little petition to reach out to the town government to, in this case, they felt like we should be doing more work on our roads, and they wanted to just, see if people more or less agreed. I thought that was a really wonderful sentiment. I don't know if that petition is intended to actually end up with us or not, or end up anywhere in particular, or if it was just an exercise in what it felt, what participating in the political process feels like. But I was really inspired by it, and to be honest, I've been sort of thinking about it ever since. And on a personal level, I think over this next year for our 2025 town meeting, I'd like to spend some time putting together a small project, maybe some sort of a capital project of less than $10,000. Have some kids come up with an idea of something they need more of. Could be bike racks in the front of the schools or something like that. Have them gather signatures and see if town meeting will vote on that. So that's something I think would be engaging, interesting. I don't know, maybe it's ill-advised, but I think it'd be an interesting project.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I think that I'd make the suggestion. If you want it in a motion, I would as well. But to find out, did you get their names?
No, my wife didn't either.
Okay. I was going to say I'd invite them to bring their petition, and we could ask Paul Jaffoon to be here and let this young, well-minded future elected official, we can say, to ask the questions and to learn. So I would love to be a part of something like that we can engage. And there is one coming up on a Purple Heart community, a young lady from Stoughton who I have met, who is a middle school student and such an impressionable young lady. And she wants to lead the process to get Stoughton identified as a Purple Heart community. So that process has already begun. And when you meet her, you're going to be bowled over by her. You trust me, this young lady's going places in life. So,
yeah, if anybody who's watching this show happens to know who these people were, please reach out. We'd love to hear from them, and we'll move on next year, gathering some signatures for hopefully a nice little project that people will be involved with.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to follow up on that, that may be part of the middle school project on civics, local civics. We had a number of people last year, students, send letters to us on their projects, and some of us responded to that. I think you've been involved in that. I was as well, and a number of people in town, Mr. Tisdale, Pam McCarthy, and I think Paul Jaffoon at least were involved in responding to some of those letters. And we are due to get another set this year because we just got a letter from the teacher a couple of weeks ago indicating that the project was going to start up again, and letting us know that we could expect to see some things coming in. And in fact, some of those projects were ongoing. The things that they wanted to see, we're able to say, oh yes, we're in fact dealing with those. So, just to add to what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The last item I'm going to read tonight, and then we'll move on to the next topic, is I do want to make people aware that, as you may be aware, this weekend is Memorial Day, and there's a couple of events taking place that I want to make sure people know are happening. First is the reflagging of veterans' graves on Saturday, May 25th. I'm just going to read this is directly from the Department of Veteran Services for the town. On Saturday, May 25th, we will be reflagging the graves of all veterans at the Holy Sepulchre and Evergreen cemeteries. Please help us in this honored tradition. This can be a very rewarding experience for your children, grandchildren, and people of all ages to participate in. If you know which cemetery you wish to go to, please feel free to go directly to either Holy Sepulchre or Evergreen by 10 a.m. The Stoughton Veterans Graves Officer will be at Holy Sepulchre, and the Director of Veteran Services will be at Evergreen. Refreshments will be served at the VFW, which has a new address of 4 Seaver Street after the completion of the reflagging. Memorial Day is Monday, May 27th. The Memorial Day Parade honors those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. The parade will begin forming at the Public Works on Central Street at 8:30 and start at 9 a.m. sharp. The route will go from Public Works to the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery for two ceremonies, then to Pearl Street Cemetery for a ceremony, then proceeding to the Stoughton Town Hall for a ceremony and wreath laying at the Memorial Bell. The ceremony will begin at approximately 10:15 a.m. From there, the parade will proceed through Stoughton Square to Faxon Veterans Memorial Park for ceremonies at 2 of the memorials. The parade will then proceed to Washington Street and on to Evergreen Cemetery for 2 ceremonies at the GAR lot and the American Legion burial site. Participants in the parade generally include the VFW Color Guard and Firing Detail, veterans groups, the police and fire department, the high school band, town and state officials, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, and possibly other groups. The ceremonies at the various sites include opening prayers, playing by the high school band, an honor guard firing detail, and laying of wreaths and various speakers. The parade will end at approximately 12 p.m., at which time you are cordially invited to a collision at the VFW Post 1645 at 4 Seaver Street, which is the new location. A couple of other items. This is World War II and Korean War veterans. All World War II and Korean War veterans are encouraged to attend our main ceremony at Town Hall. Seating will be made available. If you need a ride, please call the Veterans Office. It is the town's honor to have you in attendance. And anybody who hears this, please feel free to pass this, and actually, please just pass this message along. We also have 2 Memorial Square dedications. These are going to take place on Monday, May 27th. The first one is at 1 p.m. It's for Charles F. Large. That's going to be at Low Ave at the driveway to the Doll School. And the second is at 1:45, which is for Joseph P. DeVito, which is the corner of Pleasant Street and Park Street at the Historical Society. Before moving on, I just wanted to once again ask anybody on the board any additional comments.
Mr. Chair, on the square dedications as well, the Historical Society will be open from, I believe, 1 o'clock on, and the DeVito family has arranged to ask, that the Historical Society be open during that time, which my friend Joe DeVito was president a few years back. And so there will be some light refreshments, and they've invited the community to come partake in that and to learn of the great things that happened in this town with Charlie Lodge and Joe DeVito involved. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. No further comments, questions? Please, absolutely, take your time.
Through you, Mr. Cavey, to the town manager, we voted the dedication of the foyer at DPW for the Williams family. Do you have an idea when we should plan for that?
I don't have a date, Mr. Carrera. I'll check with Paul on Monday to see if they had planned anything. If not, we will schedule that ourselves.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So the next is the town manager. Everyone else good? You guys good over here? Okay. So the next item is the town manager's comments. Mr. Coulter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, for the past year and a half, we've been lobbying our delegation at the federal level and at the state level to try and receive funds to build our community center in one swoop as opposed to piecemealing it. This week, we were notified by Senator Markey's office that he has made our request of $2 million his top priority is in terms of the FY25 earmark in the outside section of the federal government. I then heard, or Pam heard the next day from Congressman Lynch's office, that they're going to match that. They've made that their top priority. So that the request for earmarks for $2 million is in both the House and the Senate budget gives us a very high likelihood, if not certainty, that we'll get all or a significant portion of that $2 million. We've also been petitioning our local state delegation for $1 million through MassWorks. They have made the application. Pam and I are going into Beacon Hill in the next 2 weeks to meet with MassWorks and go through the plans and the proposal. We've invited the Lieutenant Governor to come down and see the community center, the work it needs, the work we plan, and she has already promised to advocate and lobby for an outside section earmark to the state budget as well. Now, we know that the state budget has to be balanced, therefore they can't borrow billions of dollars every year like the federal government. But there are pockets of money that are already in place. So our goal this year is to raise $3 million that we can finish the project before the end of fiscal 25 and have a grand celebration in time for the 300 in a facility that is done beautifully as opposed to, put together with smoke and mirrors. So that's great news. The second thing I wanted to say is, and I know it's not a live issue, but we have received notice from the United States Postal Service that they are now considering the offer that we made several years ago to downsize their department from a distribution center to a retail center, and they're interested in the 5 properties that this board proposed to them several years ago. That is triggered by former Boston Mayor and Cabinet Secretary Marty Walsh being recently appointed to the Board of Directors of the U.S. Postal Service. So now they're following up with us instead of us chasing them. So we'll put before the board at a future date an update on where we are so the board can give us direction on what you would like to do with that property if they decide to move out. So that's all I have on that. I do have one announcement from the Treasurer's Office, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I hate reading these because I know citizens, this isn't the good news they like to hear, but the Public Works Department issued the FY24 fourth quarter water, sewer, and trash bills on May 14th. The fourth quarter water, sewer, and trash bill is due June 13th, 2024. All unpaid quarterly bills accrue interest at a 14% rate from their respective due dates. A $15 demand will be added to the bill, and the senior discount will be forfeited if this quarter's bill is not paid in full. The water, sewer, and trash bill may be paid online by mail at town meeting or dropped in the drop box outside of Town Hall. The collector's office is now accepting payments by credit card and or debit cards in the collector's office for water, sewer, and trash bills. There's a 3% fee for paying your bill with a credit card or debit card. Please call the collector's office at 781-341-1300, extension 9222, if you have any questions about your bill. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. And the last item on our agenda for this beginning section is citizen comments. Ms. Walsh.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. I served on a committee with Boyd Walls. It was the first time I ever met him. The committee was functioning for about a year. Every time he saw me after that point, he always greeted me like I was an old friend. That's the kind of guy that he was and is. Now I get to the gripe portion of my statement. I got my absentee ballot nice and early. And the letter from William Galvin says, postage prepaid. So I put everything together. Well, it isn't. It says place your stamp here. I called the clerk's office and they said it would be stamped at the post office, which I don't understand.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Well,
Just the last part.
I called the clerk's office and asked them why this isn't stamped. And they said the post office would do it. I don't understand that, and I'm terrified that my ballot and the ballots of a lot of other people won't get to the clerk's office because it says, voter, place stamps here. It wasn't run through any kind of machine or anything. Like, the envelope that you got went through the town's postage machine. Now,
What election was that, Cynthia?
I can't hear you.
What election was the one that was stamped?
It was the envelope she received was stamped.
The last one.
Amazing.
I've never had to put a stamp on one of these. If the post office is going to stamp it or run it, I don't, if that's what's going to happen, fine. But I don't want to let this out of my hands until I find out what's going to happen to it. And I'm sure I'm not the only voter that's concerned that it says, voter, place stamps here. People have even said to me, how many stamps is it going to take? Because it doesn't say. So I'd like that straightened out. And also, since the water bills came out, I've been getting a lot of questions. One is, why wasn't there more information about the special election? And I explained to folks that the town can't be in a position of taking one side or the other, that we are letting them know that there's going to be a special election. But some were confused because it didn't say when and where. I know that people can vote from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at their normal polling places. But a lot of people were saying, well, where do we go to vote? Now, I see on tonight's agenda that there will be some early voting hours. I don't know how we're going to get the people to know what's going on. They truly don't know. They're not going to the meetings, they're not watching it on television or whatever. So I'm terrified about the turnout. And I don't know what we can do about it. Maybe the South School people are going to go on SMAC or something like that. But folks are really concerned, and they just don't have the information that they want. Obviously, I am not unbiased, so I don't want to steer people one way or the other. I am telling them where and when they can vote, and that it's what a debt exclusion is, because we've had them before. But I don't know how you folks are going to be able to let folks know, or maybe it's not your responsibility, but how the school department is going to let folks know. It's we've talked about communication. I don't know, other than going like that young man and his father door to door, calling Cynthia Walsh isn't exactly my idea of communication officer, unless I can get the money.
Yes, sir.
It was the U.S. Scott that made the point, and I agree with it, that it is the town's job to give notice in many platforms as to when the election's being held. And we've done that so far by 2 days after town meeting, as the bills went out, to put an insert in that bill announcing it. We've got it all over Facebook, all over the town crier, all over every venue we've ever used to let people know. But to their point, in terms of how to vote, that is the responsibility of the advocates And I do know there are organizations pro and organizations opposed that are very, very, very active right now, from door to door to spreading information about the upcoming election. So my hope is, and you'll see tonight it's on the agenda, to post by the constables well before the election where the polling stations are and when the election is being held. So we're doing everything we can in short notice, with short notice in this election. As you know, the ballots went out 2 days after town meeting voted, so that people would have plenty of time. And the information of when and where the election is on that ballot as well. In terms of your first issue, which I find very concerning, I'm going to look into that tonight as soon as we finish this meeting. And I'll call Sam and find out. I think there's probably going to be an answer to that, but we need to communicate it to you and to the public. So we'll do that this evening. Thank you for raising it, Cynthia.
Well, thank you. And let's face it, as previous speakers pointed out, folks have a responsibility to seek out some of this information themselves. I think many folks expect to be spoon-fed. That's not how democracy works. To get informed, you've got to put yourself out there, watch TV, read things. Even the suburban shopper has government information in it. So there is some responsibility, some burden on the people that we expect to turn out to vote and make these important decisions. But I just want you to know there's still quite a bit of confusion out there, and I'm hoping from what the manager has just said that by the 11th, folks will pretty much know which way they want to go and where they should go to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something? I got my ballot and voted, put it in the mail, same day. There are many of us who get ballots in the mail. We don't just get them for town elections. We get them for state and national elections as well. Most people who deal with these things on a routine basis know exactly what to do. So I understand the concerns expressed, but I think that there are a lot of people who vote absentee who understand the system, and they got their ballots very early, had plenty of time to deal with it, and I think the town should be applauded for getting that information out to people.
Thank you for the comments. I appreciate your comments, Ms. Walsh. I've done a very quick search online, which I wouldn't hold myself to at all. But what I'm finding is that a stamp is not required. However, we're going to verify that and make sure that we have everything squared away. And certainly, if it's something that you're a very active participant in, and so if you were unsure, there's a lot of people who I think would also be equally unsure. And so we should make sure people are aware that those instructions, just how to follow the instructions and how to get that in, and to not worry. I know that, as I mentioned, that as Mr. Gito mentioned, people have already started mailing in their ballots, and from what I understand, we've been receiving them. So I don't believe there's been an issue so far. I would like to point people to the fact that there is also a website that has been, let me see if I can find this, from the Secretary of State's office, where you can track your ballot, and you can find out exactly where it is and whether or not it's been received and not lost in the mail. Give me a moment to find that, and I'll let you guys know.
I don't have a computer or internet access, so save yourself some time.
Well, there might be other people who are listening to this who are equally concerned, and provide that to them. And there might be a phone number to call as well. So give me one moment. So for anybody who is interested to know where your ballot is, first you can call the Secretary of State's office at 1-800-392-6090, and you can get that information there. There's also a website, which is sec.state.ma.us this is all one word, where do I vote MA / track my ballot. And from there, you just enter some information and it'll tell you where your ballot is in the process. I think this is also on the listed on the town website, and I think it was included with the mailers that we sent out to people's utility bills as well. So if there's any concern, there's a couple of other sources to find that information. Okay. Are there any other citizen comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a public hearing. I'm going to hand this over to our Vice Chair, Mr. Carrera, to address. This is for the renewal for the cable license for Verizon New England. There you go, my friend. Online we have, I just want to mention that online we have the attorney, William Solomon. Thank you for joining us. And from SMAC, we also have Anya, and Anya, I apologize, I probably won't be able to pronounce your last name correctly without having taken a second. Zulnik. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. But thank you for your patience. Mr. Carrera, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman Cavey. I don't have to read the charge, but the charge goes all the way back to April 23rd on a Tuesday when we opened this hearing and then extended it. So can I have a motion to open the hearing?
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's opened. I'm going to let Mr. Solomon speak first.
All yours, man. Whatever you want to do. You're in charge.
Mr. Solomon, the floor is yours, sir, to bring forward and explain about this for the folks in the audience.
Board members for having me here. William Solomon, your special counsel for this cable license renewal with Verizon. I provided an outline, and I'll briefly go through that. I'll just begin by saying, very pleased with this license. I do a lot of cable licensing. Very strong license financially, very strong license legally and public policy perspective, protecting the town as best can be protected, that you get the benefit of a bargain that the town of Stoughton is making here. So the Verizon license is a 5-year cable license. Your Comcast license in 2022 was a 10-year cable license. But since 2017, Verizon has not entered into a license.
Mr.
longer
Solomon,
than
I
5
apologize.
years.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I apologize. In the hall that we're in, your volume is very low. So if you don't mind just giving me a moment to see if we can turn that volume up so we're able to hear you
Sure.
better.
Thank you.
Just give me one moment.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I apologize for that. Maybe we can try again. You don't have to start
Sure.
at the beginning. We were able to hear you, but it was quiet enough that we're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you. So let me just go through the Verizon license. I mentioned it's a very strong license. We're proud of what the town was able to do here together. So the license with the Verizon is a 5-year license. I mentioned that your existing Comcast license is 10 years. Comcast, the incumbent company, prides itself on being a cable company. Slightly under half of its revenues come from cable. They look for a longer license, and that works well for towns. Verizon went into cable licensing. They do a tremendous job. It's a great company, but they're looking at what their future, and it may well, from their perspective, not include cable, but more of a streaming on the internet. But that said, they continue to license. They continue to have the number of customers, but because that's the dictate from above from Verizon, what they have had since 2017 in Massachusetts is a 5-year license. No license has been longer than 5 years. To Verizon's credit, what that they fairly negotiate the finances, particularly the PEG, Public Educational Government Access Capital Funding, and I'll go through that. This license also has a unilateral 3-year out that Verizon, if they give 9 months notice, beginning on the 28th month, can unilaterally get out of the license. But what Verizon does to balance that, and negotiated first in Billerica and since then in many towns, that they provide 5 years of PEG capital funding, even if they were to get out in 3 years. In fact, under this license, they provide 5 years of funding within 2 years, 3 payments within 2 years. And as I'll discuss, that's a set dollar amount. Unlike the Comcast license in Stoughton, which is a per subscriber amount, 72 cents paid each quarter, which can vary if the subscriber numbers go down. The Verizon license is a fixed number because if they wanted to have the option of getting out, one, it compensates for that, and two, if they did get out, then you wouldn't have the subscriber numbers for years 4 and 5. They've done 5-year licenses since 2016, and now they're doing renewals of those 5-year licenses in town so that they continue to be an active cable company. The PEG access channels, currently there are 3 standard definition channels, as you know: public, education, government. And this will add a high definition channel. The board, and I'd be happy to do a letter after the vote, the board would just need to send a letter to Verizon requesting that high definition channel, and they would provide that within 270 days. So that channel actually would come before the Comcast high definition channel. The PEG access support, the operating support, which is a percentage of gross revenue, is 5% of gross revenues, which matches what the Comcast license is. The language with respect to the definition of gross revenue, which is critically important, is a very strong definition that tries that is broad, doesn't have many exclusions, and is protective of the town. And that's probably the key definition in the cable license. The PEG grant is $132,000, as I said, paid in 3 payments of $44,000. So within 45 days, Verizon will be paying $44,000 to the town or its PEG access designee, depending on how it's set up on the town side. $44,000, the first anniversary of the effective date, which is tonight if you so vote, another $44,000, and then another $44,000. So that would be actually, if you took it over 5 years, $33,929 a year. That can, $26,400, and that will compare it to what Comcast pays now of $33,000. But Comcast has many more subscribers, as I listed on my summary. Verizon has 2,596 subscribers at the end of last year, and Comcast at the end of last year actually had, let me get the other number, 3,927. So moving on, finishing up, this is an important issue, and I thank Ms. Zelenik for working with me on this over a long period of time, is that the PEG cable casting, this is where can you go live in Stoughton and have that signal leave the studio to be picked up by Verizon. So Verizon picks the signal up at the studio, And in addition to that, there's a fiber connection between both the town hall and the studio and the high school and the studio. And, that's important to get that programming back and get it back in clearly so it can be sent on to Verizon. And what we did there, the last amendment, which got finalized 2 days ago, and I thank Paul Train, counsel for Verizon locally and nationally, of really coming to the table and getting this done and working hard to get that done. So my thanks to Attorney Train. We added the high school to the listing of the town hall. What was highly negotiated also was, well, what happens if the fiber is at the end of its useful life? Since Verizon at one point may want to move on from cable, and we don't know to what degree the relationship then will be with PEG. From their perspective, if the fiber were to be the end of the useful life, they rather not replace it. They suggested, as they've done in other communities, providing electronics, an encoder and decoder that could be attached to the internet to send the signal back. That works, but it's not quite as good as having a dedicated fiber line. So after actually about 3 months of negotiations with Verizon, we were able to strike what a solution which was proposed on our end, which was that, yes, if the fiber is the end of the useful life, then they can go to option number 2, the electronics they provide the town and support for a year. But if the electronics on their fiber are not working, it was important that the standard not be that whether they're at the end of the useful life, because electronics always can be at the end of the useful life. What you do is you replace it. So the license provides that if the fiber's at the end, they can move on. If the electronics on their system fail, then if they can replace it, then they have to replace it. We made clear that they'd have to replace it with Verizon equipment. We can't call up Amazon and say you can find it, that equipment here. So that was very important for the town to make sure those fiber connections continue. Finishing up, we have language which is unlikely to come into play, but that if Verizon were to provide the electronic program guide for PEG access, that you'd see the listing on the guide, you could set your DVR or computer to record that. They provide it anywhere else. They'd have to come to Stoughton not only to discuss the financial and technical feasibility, but more important about doing it. So I don't think they will be doing the electronic program guide or PEG access video on demand on the cable system. But if they decide, there's a good population in towns, particularly outside of the Boston area, that people want cable and continue to buy cable, then I believe that if they would be at one point pushed into providing at least the electronic program guide, which is important. If they're provided somewhere else, they won't be able to say to Stoughton, well, you have to wait for the next license. What we will say is that, no, that was thought of, that's in a current license. If you provide it somewhere else, you have to come and talk about providing it in Stoughton. Cable service to public buildings, they presently do not usually provide cable to service to public buildings, usually the incumbent company, in this case Comcast, but the town requested it. They would have to provide that. So in summary, that's the license, very strong license. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I again thank Anya particularly and your team, Gilda and town administrator Tom for supporting this, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Thank you for what you've done too in keeping the communications open. I appreciated the chance to read this when you sent it. That gave us time to look at it. So I'll open it up to the board. Is there any members who would like to ask any questions of Attorney Sullivan? Mr. Gito, do you have any questions?
The only questions that I have relate to Exhibit A at the end. The locations that are served by Verizon. How does that get updated? And are all of them, all of the locations listed? Have you checked recently, or has the town checked to?
I would say that usually I check carefully, but because the Comcast license was recently signed, I depended on that. But I will say two things. One is that this relates to the cable service to public buildings, which Verizon does not do currently. The town doesn't request it, and not likely to come to play. Secondly, if any building needs to be added now, and certainly we could change it now if we need to change something, but going forward, that this makes clear that this is the current list, and that any new public building that is within their service area, the town can automatically add, so that you're fully protected to add any building going forward. But if there is something here that needs to be changed or has a guest license, please let me know, and we can attach another Exhibit A. But if anything was left out, we just write Verizon and let them know there's a new building, and that if at any time the town seeks to have Verizon cable service at public buildings, that building would be included.
I can send a note to the town manager, and he can check to find out if the things that I see are correct or not correct. That would be, I think, the best way for me to do that.
Thank you.
Anya, do you have your hand up? Do you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to the board for adding us to the agenda. And I'd like to say thank you to Stephen Cavey and Tom Calter for including us in the process. It has been really great. Lots of going back and forth, trying to get the best agreement for the town. Bill Solomon was really great to work with. He really tried to get the best possible agreement for the town. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. The thing that got added yesterday to the agreement, as you know, we can go live from the town hall. As you know, right now your meeting is being televised live. And we also go live from the high school with the annual town meetings, graduations, special town meetings, and other events. So we just wanted to make sure that this location is covered as well. So that's the only change that was added. And I'd like to thank everyone again for working with us on it.
Thank you, Anya. Thank you for working with Tom and Steve on that. Deborah, do you have some?
I don't have a question, but my comment is a very thorough job, especially comparing it to Comcast. So when I talked with Mr. Calter earlier today, I said, that's the basis of comparison for me. And then right out the gates, you did it. So I have no comments, and I would like to move forward with this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Mr. Cavey.
I've got no comments, or no questions, I should say. I do very much appreciate all the hard work that people put in, Mr. Solomon. I appreciate your time and attention on this, and for from what I understand, is an extremely strong contract for the town of Stoughton, and for that I very much appreciate it. And Anya, thank you so much for your work contributing to this, as well as the board members at SMAC. I think we've had a very healthy year together and very successful, and I look forward to continuing to collaborate with you guys and get these good things done for the town. So thank you so much for all your hard work on that front. Other than that, I have no other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Cavey. Mr. McCrisky.
No, sir, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Calton, Tom, would you like to say something, please?
I'm all set, Mr.
You're all set?
Thank you.
All right, I'll go out to the audience, and there's a lot of people in the audience. Cynthia, would you like to have something to say? I don't have to. Oh, no. Is there anybody online that has any questions of Attorney Solomon or Anya? Nobody sees, yeah, I was just asking, being proper. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing's closed. I'll entertain a motion from the board. What's the wish of the board?
Motion to approve is submitted.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second from Deborah Roberts. Is there any discussion further? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Solomon, sir.
Thank you, and I'll work with Gil tomorrow to get electronically sent to me, and we'll send it to Verizon tomorrow. If I could just take 10 seconds, I wanted to say that I feel I have a connection to Stoughton that you wouldn't be aware of. And I just want to mention it that my wife's a town administrator, and our kids were relatively young, so I decided I was going to in Western Mass. So it's time to move to Western Mass and to be fully with my family. But before that, I was town council, town attorney for the town of Stoneham. And in 30 years, I want to say that I answered a good deal of calls for people who wanted Stoughton, and I sent them in the right direction. So I want you to know that I've worked with the town before, unbeknownst to anyone over there. And so I wanted to share that with you.
Do you know how many times we didn't go to school when they called off school in Stoneham?
I'm sure. It's, very close. So I've always been close to Stoughton in that sense. And so thank you for having me work on this. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for all your help.
Bye-bye.
All right, Mr. Cavey, I'm handing it back to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Carrera. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the next item of business, actually, just before I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to two items, number 7 and number 8. So this number 7 is the town manager mid-year review. We're going to hold off on that. That's on me. There's some information I had to get to everybody that I wasn't able to complete. I will have that done tomorrow by end of day and sent out to everybody. And so that's going to be on our agenda for the next meeting, where we're going to do the town manager's mid-year review. The other item, number 8, which is a change of legal counsel from KP Law, PC to Mead, Tillerman and Costa, LLC. That's also, we're going to take that off the agenda for tonight, potentially revisit it in the future, but there's a possibility we might not. So, but for right now, we're not going to address that. So those two are items that we're going to remove. And that leaves us only with the consent agenda in our open session. So the consent agenda includes the following items. Item A, approval of open session minutes, meeting of May 7th, 2024. Item B, application for one-day alcohol beverage license, June 1st, 2024, for Club Luis de Camões, 76 Porter Street. Item C, application for a road race or parade, June 2nd, 2024, Club Luis de Camões, 74 Porter Street. Item D, application for one-day alcohol beverage license for entertainment, June 9th, 2024. This is for Havre Torah Congregation, 1179 Central Street. Item E is an application for use of electronic billboard for June 11th, 2024 ballot election. Item F, approval of warrant for special local election for June 11th, 2024 ballot question. Item G, approval of in-person early voting for June 11th, 2024 election. Item H, acceptance of $300 donation from VFC Healthcare Solutions for Juneteenth event. And item C, acceptance of $600 donation from Toffee Social Bar and Lounge for the Juneteenth event. I'm going to leave you guys with two options here. If there's anything you'd like to discuss, we can do that right now. If there's an item you'd like to pull for us to vote separately, let me know. But for right now, if there's anybody who would like to make a comment on the current consent agenda. Okay, Ms. Roberts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Item H and I, VFC Healthcare Solutions and Toffee Social Bar and Lounge. I just wanted to thank them very, very much for their contribution, for their donation to the Juneteenth event, which the town is sponsoring on Wednesday, June 19th, and it will be at the high school. Now, VFC Healthcare Solutions is located on Washington Street in Stoughton, and Toffee Social is located on Wyman Street here in Stoughton. And I appreciate the thought and the contribution, and Toffee Social and Lounge. I just want to mention, they have very good food, and sometimes they have live entertainment, so I invite people to go by and see what they have to offer. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I get out a lot. I eat a lot of food, look at a lot of places, and Toffee Social is one of my favorite places in town.
Oh, really?
The people there, the lady who owns the business, but also the people who work there, are just some of really the finest, most the funnest people, the kindest people. They have a wonderful and beautiful facility, and for both for both organizations, these are very generous donations, and the town of Stoughton very much appreciates it.
Thank you.
Are there any other items that people would like to discuss first? Okay. Are there any items that anybody wants to pull? Okay. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion is made by Mr. McCrisky, seconded by Vice Chair Carrera. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? No abstentions? Okay, passes unanimous.
Do you want to have John come up and talk? John, do you want to come up?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Is this on?
It is, yeah.
I understand I didn't have to be present, but I felt that I should, for the simple reason that I would like to extend an invitation to the Select Board and to our town manager to, oh, by the way, my name's John Vasconcelos. I'm the president of the Holy Ghost Feast from 76 Porter Street. I believe the application for the procession, I think, Mr. KV, you read 74 Porter Street. It's 76, but that's,
I may have misread it. I apologize if I did.
That's neither. But
Yeah, 76. I tend to do that.
I just wanted to extend in person an invitation for you, the Select Board and our manager, to come and visit us on Saturday night and experience what our traditions are, and to participate in our procession on Sunday. Sunday, we're simply going to have the procession from the club to the church, back to the club afterwards, where we'll be passing out our traditional Holy Ghost soups, which a lot of people refer to as bread and water, but there's more than that. It's a nice, tasty broth, and we have the cooked beef. And so, once again, you're all welcome to come. It's not just a Portuguese thing. It's a community thing. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for doing it, and I appreciate you coming.
I've only been doing it, I was talking to my wife earlier today, and I believe we're working on like 44 years.
So you're still kind
Although
of new to this.
I just turned 40. I don't know how that math works
Still working out
but-
some of the wrinkles, trying to figure out.
But yeah, we had a little dry spell when COVID hit, and last year we started it up again, and we're glad that our traditions are going to be carried on for a little while longer. The younger generation isn't too enthused, but we're going to see if we can give them a little poke here and there. So
I also want to congratulate you for your daughter in the position she has at Town Hall now,
Yeah.
in the treasurer's office, and she's very, very well. So thank you, John.
That's my baby.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if
Mr.
I may,
McCrisky.
John, I've said this to Paul when he was here as well, and I'm going to say the same thing to you. And you pointed out that you had a pretty good knock, with COVID. It really floored you folks. But you jumped back up, you fought back up, and you're out there, keeping the traditions. I won't use the word some people didn't like it, but we'll just say I'm the half-breed Portuguese. But my mother is full blood, my wife is full blood, but thank you for what you're doing to keep the traditions alive.
It's been tough.
Yeah, it has.
And I speak as the president of the Holy Ghost and as the treasurer of the club. And I know the other Portuguese clubs in town felt the impact of COVID. We were closed for so long, and then there's restrictions as far as holding parties, as far as the capacity and all that. But we've struggled. I'm not ashamed to say that. We looked to the government to help us out, which they did, which we have to pay back. But it was good to know that there was something there. But it has been extremely hard and continues to be. Some of us still have some good-sized mortgages, and at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, those things have to be met, whether it's town, water and sewerage, insurance, any place that sells alcohol. There's a lot of things that go into that. So, but we are looking ahead, and we're not ready to hold up yet.
But it's
Not as long as I can walk and still do a little bit.
Right, but it's your leadership that makes it possible. It takes people that are willing to stand up. I always want to recognize that because we all have our areas where we stand up, and sometimes leadership can be very lonely and very hard. But it goes without mentioning that you're steadfast in your commitment to keeping the traditions alive, that the younger generations will learn from the older folks. So my congrats to you.
I appreciate those kind words, Joe. But it's worrisome, and I'll leave it at that. But we look forward. The past is behind us, and we stare ahead.
That's a wonderful, wonderful attitude,
Very
Mr.
much.
Mr. Coulter. Do you have
It's
something
so
you'd like
nice to meet you.
Mr. John,
Thank you.
may just, Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege, if I may.
to add? Yes, sir.
John, could I ask you a personal favor?
Absolutely.
I've got two extraordinarily professional Portuguese assistants in this office.
Yes, you do.
But occasionally they get upset with me and they speak Portuguese to each other. I'm wondering if you could come in and have coffee with me one day next week?
I could probably tell you right now more or less what they probably call you.
I'll leave
but
the
not in an open forum.
I'll leave the door open so you can hear it.
I know Gilder and I know Reggie, but I'm not throwing them under the bus. I'm sorry. I
John,
will
you do
not
great
do
work,
that.
and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Gito, nice to see you, sir. And Cynthia Walsh behind me, we go back a long way. I can say it, can't I? Sure. We've known each other for over 50 years.
I thought you said you were 40.
And neither of us look a day over 49. And with that, I bid you good night. Thank you.
You just said earlier that you were 40.
I know,
All
but
right, so you just admitted, okay,
But
all right,
I
let's
had
just call it
mentioned-
out.
Joe, I had mentioned something about 44, so now at least
Yeah, but the
it
50's
gives
there.
you the idea I started when
Yeah.
I was 5. So.
50's, the 50's heading in the right direction, so,
Yes.
we're getting closer.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I can, but my knees aren't what they used to be. My wife yelled at me for so long that I finally gave it up. I said, okay, honey, you're right. So, thank you very much.
Good night, John.
Thank you so much.
John.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Gito.
before we leave, we got a letter tonight,
Would you like to speak
and
to that? I haven't
I
had a
would
chance to
like
read it
to
yet.
read a couple of the sentences in it, not the whole thing, and perhaps we could consider doing what was asked for, which is to give a citation to the person. This is from Cheryl Lyons, and she says, "Dear board members, Madeline K. Lyons has earned the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest honor awarded by the Boy Scouts of America." I'm going to take my glasses off so I can read. She will receive this award at an Eagle Court of Honor on Saturday, June 15th, 2024. I'll skip the second paragraph and go to the third. Troop 10 is extremely proud of its scouts who attain the rank of Eagle Scout. Since only a small percentage of all scouts reach this rank, an appropriate commemorative citation from your office to the above-named scout would be especially appreciated. And she indicates where that should be sent. I think that's something that we should make sure that we do. That's it.
I agree, and we will. Thank you so much for reading that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
At this point, it's been the tradition that the chair or the vice chair attend the Eagle Court of Honor. If neither of you are able to make it, I'd be willing to represent the board, or if anybody else would like to. I've done them before. I would take a back seat to anybody else that would like to, but I'd like to make sure that we continue the tradition of having a board member at those courts.
I'd like to have Mr. McCrisky stand in for me, because I know I'm busy that day.
This is the 15th. Is that a weekday? Saturday. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. So,
At this,
we'll
yeah,
head over.
I mean, I will reserve the right, because my schedule does change if something happens that I wouldn't be able to, but if I'm available, I would love to be there on behalf of the board.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we'll see that through. Thank you so much. The last item on the agenda is executive session. This is executive session pursuant to Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town manager. We have an item B, which is approval of executive session minutes for the meeting of April 10th, 2024. Just to put this out here, people are willing to vote for this, but is there anybody who wishes to recuse themselves from executive session?
Are you poll the board? I'll do it then. That way you go through.
Oh, we could do that. I was going to still vote to enter executive session, but we will instead vote to, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session. Okay, in a second. Okay, motion to enter executive session was made by Mr. Gito and seconded by Deborah Roberts. All in favor, we'll go right down the line. Mr. Gito? Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Carrera? Vice Chair Carrera?
I will vote no for myself. I'm actually going to abstain, so it won't be a no vote. I'll abstain.
Mr. McCrisky?
I'll be entering executive session, but I will not be taking part in the discussion.
Okay. So is that a vote yes to enter executive?
Yes.
Thank you. In that case, we will be adjourning from executive session, not re-entering open session. So thank you all very much for joining us, and that concludes our open session. Be well.